This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to another drizzly day here in Djuma Private Game Reserve. It's still raining, but I have a good feeling for spots today. As we look out to the horizon, we see... Welcome on board, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. We've stopped on quarantine. Quarantine's a very good place to start in the morning. Tracks, audio, sounds, signs, smells, but nothing so far. My name is Lauren. I do have Johan on camera, and I think I probably need to wipe. I need a little... It's not a good idea to wear glasses on a rainy day, but otherwise I can't see. So we're going to continue bumbling about our morning. There's no point in sitting here if nothing is happening. So therefore, we shall head to the hyena den, see if there's any activity, and absolutely everyone is desperate for leopards today. Everybody. So we're going to help, we're going to work as a team and see if we can find some spots. But of course, this safari is live. It's not pre-recorded. That's why you get to see all the weird and wonderful mishaps that happen during drive. And therefore, you must talk to us, interact with us, send comments, questions, jokes, whatever you wish. And you send them using @FC on the YouTube chat. Oh, the rain is coming down quite a lot now. #WildEarth on Twitter. You can head to the website, wildearth.tv/explorers. But if you are a kid, we want to hear from you the most. And you send in your wonderful questions via email, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, I don't know the temperatures off the top of my head, but I know that it's chilly, it's wet, it's drizzly. But there's a lot of moisture seeping into the ground right now. Although it's a drizzle, as I described it, it's constant, a constant drizzle. So it actually makes things far wetter than you would ever realise. And we got to see termites last night. Yay! But unfortunately, it was in the dark. We were using IR. But what that does mean is that there's enough moisture in the ground for them to become very active, very exposed. And it was obviously warm enough last night. It's definitely not warm. Now I can't see a thing. Oh, I'm on my way to the hyena den, but I believe Eric already has some hyenas for you.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We are in a nice open clearing, and we've got these two hyenas that are here, and they seem like they've had quite a long evening because they are fast asleep at the moment. My name is Eric EXELBY. Behind camera is BK. And it was quite interesting, actually, because we got here initially and we thought we saw 3 hyenas, but one turned out to be a jackal. And so the jackal was 5 meters behind these 2 hyenas, and they were just basically lying right next to one another. We waited here for a little bit, and actually a herd of impala started walking out into these open clearings. And this jackal got up and it started moving, and it almost looked like it was circling that herd of impala. And I wonder if it was looking for maybe an isolated lamb that it could try and take advantage of. It would be a tall order for a jackal. It's quite a small animal in comparison to those impalas. It spent some time looking, and it eventually wandered off for the day. And as you can see, these hyenas they look like they've had a very long evening. They are completely passed out. I wonder what they got up to last night. And if you were watching last night, we actually had the pride of lions within this area. And as we got to them, they got up and they started moving in the direction that we are. And so we've come into the area to see if we can find any tracks or signs. So I wonder if maybe by some chance these two hyenas might have had some sort of interaction with that pride of lions. And if that's the case, that's a very valid reason as to why they're feeling quite sleepy and quite tired. And this one looks like it's trying to get its face out of the wind. It's literally headbutting the ground. It's always nice. I love to start the morning off just with the engine turned off, just to give us that opportunity to listen to what's going on around us. And so at this time of morning, it's not... I will be listening out for a few things like those lions. It could be one or two of their last little calls if they were out marking their territory after the rains last night. And so we could be hearing that. We could be hearing the distant alarm calls of impalas or wildebeest, suggesting that there could be a potential predator in the area. Even excited hyenas like this, if we hear them calling and chattering and laughing, there might be a really good chance that there's predators around. So now that these hyenas are sleeping and not doing much, I think we might continue on looking for any tracks of lions. And let's go over to Pinda to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome to and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we have been really lucky again this morning to have found Cheetah with her young cub. Happily for us, she seems to not have come across any predators last night. So my name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Owen, and we will be with you this morning. It's a stunning morning here. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's quite sunny. I think it's going to be quite a hot day. The birds are chirping. We've got a lot of dew on the grass, and it's looking to be a beautiful African morning for us. Echo is saying about the activity between the lion and the hyena. And with that is, there's a whole lot of interactions that happen overnight between all these different predators. So as we said before yesterday, this female actually had 3 cubs and she went looking for the other 2 last night. Doesn't seem as she was successful. I can see just one little face there, but at least these 2 are safe. You can see her grooming herself. It's possible that there's quite a lot of dew that's collected on her fur, and she's actually licking that up as we're watching. That little cub on the right is so sleepy. You can actually see its eyes are closed. Must have had quite a exhausting night. Much like those hyena you just saw. Mama's awake and alert. Yesterday you did notice that she was quite skinny. Her quite sunken in by her hip bones. So I think she is quite hungry and possibly getting ready to get up and move around and maybe look for something to hunt this morning. I try and avoid hunting during the evenings because there's a whole lot of other predators that will come around at night and they want to try and avoid those. So that's potentially what she's going to be doing this morning. We're going to stick with her for a little bit and see if we can see what she gets up to. And in the meantime, we're going to send you over to Tswalu and see what they have for you this morning.
Good morning and welcome to a beautiful sunrise at Tswalu Kalahari. It promises to be a beautiful day. 22 degrees, 71 Fahrenheit. You with me, Deirdre, and Darby, still on camera. And our plan for this morning, we're trying to balance between rock stars, which is the meerkats, as well as that bat-eared fox den. So today we're going to try a rock star update. So you're just going to have to give us a minute while we go in there on foot and see what we can find. Maybe today's the day that the little ones come out. We can't wait. So still a slight breeze, not as much as it has been blowing in the last few days. So much, just a slight breeze. Hopefully that dies down, because that definitely affects whether the pups will come out the den or not this morning. You can just hear the dawn chorus. All the doves, red-crested korhans, the fawn-coloured larks. Everybody else is happy to be up this morning. Just such a stunning vista of the Karanerberg mountain range. We're going to send you across to Djuma while we make our way to the rock stars.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Well, another active den scenario. I just about lost my earpiece. Oh, hello, Ribbon. Good morning to you. Looking fabulous. Ribbon's incoming. Swazi's going to meet her. Oh, he's getting very excited. Respect for his matriarch. Yes, Ngwazi just pulled my earpiece out of my ear. It dangles down. Don't worry, he didn't reach up to my ear. It dangles down below the car. Oh, look at this. This is Heart on the ground with her too. Ribbon saying hello to Heart. Corky's daughter is popping her nose somewhere that's probably not very pleasant. It's very dog-like when they behave like that. So much excitement. And they expose their genitals, they extend and go very flaccid, which I know sounds really weird, but you will only see them do that with clan members. It's trust, it's interaction, it's submissiveness to Ribbon. Although it looks very bizarre, there's actually a lot of meaning behind it. Poor Heart's just trying to suckle and she's getting swamped. But you can see there's a lot of trust here. So by Ribbon sniffing Heart, she's exposed, she's lying down, she's also suckling, and Gwazi's here, also investigating what's going on. There's a lot of trust. Heart just, there's no animosity here or aggression. Andrea, I know, you cannot help but love Tswazi. He, on our approach, it's normally just the cubs that come to greet us. They want to sniff every single part of your car, from the tires to the front, to the back, to the underneath. But when we arrive here, Tswazi does the same thing. He's just a big, giant cub. Really, he lost his mother very young. Pretty was his mother, and we don't quite understand what happened to Pretty, but I do wonder if it was disease. She was really not very well the last time we saw her. And Pretty was high ranked. We think she was number 2 underneath Corky. Although fascinatingly enough, Pretty's mother was ex-matriarch. So we thought she would be the matriarch, but in fact it appeared to be Corky. But all in all, she was very high ranked, with good status, and that was his mother. So essentially speaking, Tswazi and Ndebele were born with high status. And without trying to put too much of a human perspective on everything, he just seems to bond with everyone. Nobody's aggressive towards Tswazi, and yes, I have such a bond with that hyena. He's incredible. He seems to know no fear, and gets himself in all sorts of situations like last night. The females really accept him. I mean, he's still young. He's technically sexually mature, though. And look, Ribbon here is letting him sniff everything. He's not a threat, he's gentle. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I agree with you. Everybody loves Tswazi. He just wants to be with the cubs, I think. Losing Pretty must have been quite hard for them. Gracie, Tswazi's one of the languages here. I think there's 11 different languages spoken in South Africa, and we actually named a lot of the cubs after them. Sotho, Tswana, Tswazi, Ndebele, Pedi. They all got names after different languages that are spoken here. I think maybe Afrikaans and English and Zulu are maybe the most sort of well-known ones, but there's also a lot of other wonderful languages that are spoken throughout South Africa. We speak a lot of Shangaan here, and that's the words that we use on the radio. Ingwe, leopard. Ngala, lion. Misi, hyena. Mufazi, female. Madoda, male. All these strange words that you hear us use on the radio, it's Shangaan. So yes, that's what Tswazi means. It's named after a language. But we don't see Tswazi too much. I went through a long period of not seeing him, and I was secretly worried that he could have dispersed. He's at dispersal age if he chooses to do so. And we don't really see Tswazi too much. It kills or scavenging at the bottom of trees. I think, and again, it's just my personal thought, that Tswazi is probably an incredible hunter. Just like what we saw the other day on quarantine, Tswazi and Ndebele going after that wildebeest calf. I think Tswazi hunts to sustain himself. Now, it might just be scrub hares, it might be duikers or steenboks, but I think what you'll find is Tswazi hunts more than scavenges. Of course, they all scavenge when the opportunity presents themselves, absolutely. But I think Tswazi probably kills a lot of his own food. Now, June's not here, So we probably will not see the cub, I would imagine. Normally, when the cubs are that young... Oh. Swazi gets the cubs all worked up. But yes, the mothers call out the cub. They put their head into the hole and they vocalize to get the cub to come out. And it's a way of saying it's safe. It's mama, I'm here, you can come out, it's time for food. And the cub can recognize their own mother's vocalization. I'm not sure at that age if they can recognize all the adults' vocalizations. They probably learn that, but they know mother. And when they hear mom calling, okay, something like that, they know, safe, mom's here. The milk bar is open and it's time for cuddles. Swazi's just in his element when he's around the cubs. Has heart's pair. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm just trying to see who we're looking at here. You are correct. Actually, scientifically correct. It's been proven that hyenas are incredibly intelligent. A study by Duke University, I'm sure, actually proved that the cognitive abilities of hyenas are remarkable. Now, I personally think you could already guess that, especially because they're social animals. They are said to be even smarter than some chimps because of the size of their front. Was fascinating. Wow. Black Widow Spider, you have just pointed something out to me that I did not notice. Johan, if you just go to what's happening here, this is a really interesting scenario. One of the cubs is limping really quite severely. Wow, that was fascinating. Lots of dominating over heart. Now, this cub here, just on its back right, the cub's back right, it's limping. Thank you, Black Widow Spider. I did not notice that, and now that I'm looking, it's very swollen. It's Shimbulu, I think. I think that's who we're looking at. Oh dear. It's not putting any weight on it. You see that? Thank you for that. I didn't notice. We didn't see some Shimbulu yesterday. I wonder if that's why. It's been injured. Did you see them how dominating hard they are? Now, hard and ribbon have always appeared to be close. Alliances, if you like. But that was definite domination there, just reminding everyone their place in the hierarchy. Not letting anyone get too big for their boots, shall we say. Not that anyone's wearing boots. Wow. I'm definitely going to stay here a little bit longer and watch these absolutely fascinating interactions. But now we're going to send you across to Pinda and their spotted cats.
Welcome back. So we've been watching this mother and her little cub, and it's been a little bit of a heartbreaking scene because she does still keep calling. It's now the third morning after we've seen her without those other two cubs. Go to Clive. You can just stand by for a few minutes. I'll call you in just now. You can see she's grooming that cub beautifully. They're both getting ready to get up and have a move on. Generally, this is the displays that you look for before a lot of cats get up and move around. You know, yawning, grooming, all signs that they're about to get up soon. You can see the cub is far more alert than what we saw a little bit earlier. Although, even though it's standing up, you can still see those tiny little eyes slowly closing every now and then. I cannot believe the light that is hitting these beautiful cheetah this morning. There we go. If we listen carefully now, you'll hear her calling for those other two cubs. That little contact call that sounds very much like a bird. I'm just waiting to see if she does it again, perhaps. So if we're having a look at this coat of this cub, it's really nicely displayed now. You can see how it's really light on the top and then quite dark underneath. And you can see those spots starting to come through. Now there's a theory that it is supposed to look a bit like a honey badger. One of the 4 animals that lions actually fear. It goes elephant, rhino, hippo, and then the honey badger. So that's the theory. When they're very young and still in their den site, if a lion were to see them from far and not know what it is, it might give them a bit of a berth, mistaking it for a honey badger. Not sure how much I believe that theory myself. There's some merit to it, but I also think lions have such good eyesight. It's unlikely that they'll mistake it for anything else. See, that cub, I think, is trying to actually suckle now. Just see a little bit of movement up and down every now and then. Noticing for the first time a few scars on this cheetah's face as well. Nitras. We think this cheetah cub's maybe just over 2 months. We found them about a month ago. It's probably getting close to 3 months now. The behavior is that it doesn't seem to be denning anymore. She does seem to be moving it around a bit. So it's about that age when it leaves the den site. So that's what we estimated to be. It's the youngest cheetah cub I've ever seen. Because normally any younger, they'll be left in their den sites. Very difficult to find, but also we don't want to actually come across them in their den sites or spend time with cheetah cubs in their den sites, because it's a very sensitive sort of area. And you don't want to, you don't want to try and interrupt that process or drawing attention to the den site at all. My theory is that this is exactly where something came across her and her cubs, because she keeps coming back to this exact area and calling them as if this is where she last had them. You can see now how incredibly skinny she is as she stands up. See how her belly is sunken in right by the hips. But it also shows like a mother's focus and love, because instead of looking to try and feed herself or anything, her focus for the last 2 days has still been trying to find these cubs, walking around calling. Shame you can see that little cub going in there, just trying to suckle again. This is a really good, look, yes, you can see under her leg there, look in the front, there's actually a big cut. I said earlier there were a few scars I've never noticed on her nose. Now we can see by her elbow and her left leg there's a bit of a cut. I think she definitely did have an interaction with some sort of predator. She's lucky to have gotten away if it did manage to get that close to her. Because as we've said before, they've got very little in the way of defense. So we're actually very lucky that she's probably come face to face with some sort of animal. My theory is leopard. We know there was lion in the area, but there were a few rangers following that lion and watched it sort of walk away from the area, and we saw the tracks the next day leading quite far. You can see the cubs actually going. She's got a few teats. She's trying to find the best one right now. It's quite the picture, having this little cub in between her legs trying to suckle. Luckily that wound doesn't seem to affect her at all. Starlight, that call cannot travel too far. Their hearing is a bit better than ours, so they can probably hear her call from a bit further away than we can. But what you're hearing is a very soft call. It's not going to travel very far at all. I would say 100 meters, if that. I was watching her the other day where she left the cubs to go and drink water. And when she came back, she started calling from a couple 100 meters, and there was no reaction from the cubs until she got quite a bit closer. So I don't think it can travel very far at all. That's why it's very difficult for her to find those cubs. If they are still alive somewhere, they might be hidden in a thicket. That's where they wait. They'd rather wait for their mother to come and find them, and they're not going to hear her from too far. So she would have to sort of walk around and get very close to them before they would react. And you can imagine now they'd be quite weak. They haven't fed in a few days, so they certainly aren't going to be walking around. But I think it's unlikely, now that I can see that she's actually interacted with the predator herself, they are still alive. Very young cubs, they're not quite sure what to do in the event of a predator coming along. The instinct would be to run, but also probably not run too far. An older cub would have more experience, carry on running, try and get serious distance between them and the predator, knowing that the mother will come back at a later stage and find them. Also be much faster, much more able to run. These cubs are still very small. Can't imagine they would be excessively fast or be able to cover a lot of distance. You know, they've got tiny little legs, and they're going to be competing with something that's fully grown, much longer legs. Still trying to find a lovely place to suckle. You can see those dew claws really beautifully in the front of the legs there. And Lioness Nova has actually just asked a question which is leading from what I was going to point out. You can see those dew claws just at the top of her feet. Those claws that really aren't on the back pads, they're a little bit further away. And those are claws that stay quite sharp. And cheetahs have a different hunting method to leopard and lion. They hunt something that's not going to turn and defend itself, so it might not have big horns or tusks or anything. So they try and avoid things like warthog or wildebeest or zebra, something that's going to do a lot of damage. They rather go for something that uses its speed just like them. So impala, duiker, something like that. That's very small and very quick. And that way, as it's running, they actually chase behind it, and they use that dew claw to trip the back legs, and then as it tumbles, they go and suffocate it. You know, if they were to hunt something like a zebra, there's a good chance the zebra would kick them, or even turn and face them, and that could be detrimental to the cheetahs. Also, wildebeest, tend to avoid them. I have seen 2 male cheetah hunt wildebeest before, make a successful kill. But generally, they'll hunt something that uses its speed to get away. We're going to leave these cheetah because they're starting to move, and there are quite a few game drive vehicles that want to come and see this, and we've been really lucky to have such a beautiful view of them this morning. So as she walks off, I'm going to let her carry on in that direction. We don't off-road for these cheetah when they've got such a young cub, and we're going to see what else we can find for you this morning. Clive, you can make your way, head to the southern end of the airstrip. So we're going to send you over to Lauren in Djuma and see what she has for you. Perhaps the hyenas are still being quite playful.
We have a very cool Hey! Swazi just put his nose on my bottom. Swazi, no! Go away. It's been naughty, sorry. We do what I think have a very, very small bark spider here feeding. Feeding on something that I can't identify. Sorry, I'm very occupied with the hyena action that's happening at my rear end. However, this is very exciting. I'm going to put my porcupine pointer here just so you can get an idea of size. I'll just put it here. So this is a very, very small bark spider. I think it's a bark spider. They obviously look like bark. And they have those sort of 2 protrusions almost coming from their sort of top surface, if you like. And that's normally how you can identify them. They do get bigger. And we were talking about mimicry yesterday in the animal kingdom. And of course, the bark spider is a superb mimic. They normally spend their daytime sort of pressed up against a tree, against the bark. So you normally can't see them. No, 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 no. No. goodness me. I'm gonna have no car left. And normally it can pull its little legs, its 8 legs, very close to the body in a tight little ball, and therefore you only see those sort of protrusions on the back, and that's how it's able to camouflage and mimic bark so well. And it's normally quite nocturnal, so it gets very, very active at night time. And they can construct, for its size, it can construct a very large web. And therefore, that's how they catch their dinner. But obviously, this little barkie's been living in my car. I'm just going to get a little bit closer to see what it's looking at. I mean, what it's eating. It's definitely not looking at that. It's eating it. And believe it or not, the web itself that it constructs is actually dismantled in the morning. They normally keep the bridge line, which is that really important one strand of silk, the bridge, but they dismantle their web and they reabsorb it. The silk is reabsorbed in order to sort of save energy. Silk is very energetically costly, and it's produced from spinnerets. They normally have a number of spinnerets to produce the silk, and it's very strong, but it's costly. And all spiders are venomous. Not poisonous, venomous. But just not necessarily to us. Not all of them are able to inject their venom, only some. And of course, some can. I think the prey here is already dead. I'm not sure if it's just feeding on it. And the venomous spiders we get here, the brown button spider, the black button spider, the baboon spider, the 6-eyed crab spider. And one of the ones that we really have to watch out for is the violin spider. It's very small and difficult to see, but it's cytotoxic, and they do bite humans a lot. We've had a lot of injuries in camp from that. And cytotoxic means that the venom goes into the sort of muscles, the tissue, and it can really start to eat away at the tissue. So what starts as a really small bite on your hands can grow to quite a severe injury as the tissue in your own body starts to wither away. Look at that. Isn't this amazing? It's eating it. It's actually eating it. Now, not just cytotoxic, you also get neurotoxic, and that'll be your black and brown button spiders. They contain a neurotoxin. What that means, it attacks your central nervous system. Neuro generally refers to the sort of brain, so that toxin won't affect the tissues or the muscles, it'll go straight for your central nervous system. The violin spider, the sac, I think I forgot the sac there, and the 6-eyed crab spider, they're all cytotoxic. They all go for the tissue. I think the 6-eyed crab spider has the most sort of virulent cytotoxin. Not only does it sort of damage the tissue at the site of the bite, it actually spreads and can destroy tissue throughout the entire body, and it's slow. It can actually cause death if it's not treated properly. Spider bites are no joke. But the neurotoxic bites are said to be the most painful. You don't always feel a violent spider bite. Elise, you're asking, I think the bark spider's only found in South Africa? I think that was the question. I don't believe so. I don't know their distribution, but I don't believe it's just localized to South Africa. But I will check that for you. This is a particularly small one. But I'm sure you get bark spiders all across Africa. But I will check. And bark spiders cannot harm us, of course. But they will contain venom, as all spiders do. But it's not venom that they can inject into us. Wow. It's literally lifting the prey species off the ground. You also get hemotoxins, toxic animals, and that will attack the red blood cells, as I'm sure you can guess, disrupt clotting and go right for your bloodstream. So you get neurotoxic, cytotoxic, and hemotoxic. Oh, what a fascinating sighting. I think we're going to spend just a minute longer here at the hyena den, and we're going to send you down to those famous meerkats. Oh, you're back with us. Deirdre's lost her voice. I'm sure it'll come back. I'm so just admiring this scenario in front of us. I haven't seen any movement from the prey. I don't know if any of you have been able to identify it. I don't quite know what it is. It has wings. It's definitely not moving. It's definitely dead already. And the action at the hyena side has slowed down. Other than Tswazi, of course. Now, when I'm sitting in my car, he literally came up here and sniffed my bottom. Delightful. I'm sure that was lovely for you, Tswazi. He's quite rough with the cubs as well. He just wants to play. He's got Corky's daughter here in a chokehold, Stone Cold Steve Austin style. Oh my goodness. She loves it. Now, in case any of you are concerned, it's just play. It's rough play, but it's play. Tswazi, she's a lot smaller than you, and she's a girl. And saying that she's a girl, it makes no difference. She is fierce and feisty and strong. When we select the names, I'm going to be very sure to, mention, it will most likely be a Shangaan name, to mention that it should reflect her personality. So I have just received some news of a Panthera pardus, i.e. leopard, so I'm going to get on to finding out where it is, and you guys are going to go back down to the meerkats.
So I can start talking same again. Morning. We're here at the Rockstars and they've been up for about 2 minutes. They're slow starters this morning because it's quite windy here. We've got about 18 km/h winds and we can see 5 individuals. The other day there were 6. Oh, there we go. Number 6 is just popping up. There we go. Okay, so 6 adults and we are still waiting for the little ones to come out. We had bets the other day, so I said 4, Darby said 5, the meerkat habituator said maybe 6, so we want to see who's going to be right. But when it is windy like this, it does tend to make them a little bit, it's harder to maintain their thermoregulation. You can see them standing facing the sun, so warming up that nice little sort of black belly that they've got, but it might make it a challenge for the pups to come out. They must see something aerial. Look at they all just lifted their heads. I can only see a swift that went past. That was all I saw. But for them, they've got to check everything, because if it's not a swift, it could be an eagle, and that could be, I would say, almost detrimental to their health if they're not paying attention. No, at least no jackals around the den this morning that we've seen, so they're just doing their normal grooming, sitting in the sun. So, sometimes when you've just woken up, it's hard to stand and prop yourself up on your legs and your tail. They do get a little bit tired, so then they eventually land up just sitting down. Yeah, it's literally just a swift that they're looking at. Oh. Somebody sounded an alarm and, oh, there's one eating breakfast already. Very often, when they're cleaning the burrows and expanding burrows, there are insects in the side walls of the burrows, in the ground, so they do sometimes find little beetle grubs and other insects quite close and around the den. They've been here now for about 3 weeks, so they've been here for the entire length of time that the pups have been underground. So it is literally, it could be minutes or it could be days before the little pups or kits come out. And then as soon as they're a little bit more mobile, they'll move to another sort of burrow system within their territory so that they can exhaust food, or they can have food supplies in those areas. They're still nervous about the swifts. There's only 2, but they're literally hanging on the wind in the same place. Anna Marie's comment is, yay, the rock stars have taken the stage. Well, 100% correct, and we're just waiting for the little rockets. I've decided that I'm going to call them the rockets if we see them. But, yeah. I can hear them, they're just like chittering and chirping. Just sort of constant morning communication to say that everybody's still good. There is a sentry on alert. You can see, looks like the alpha female there on the left. You can see the little nipples have been suckled. Oh, there's a pup. They're out. I can see 2. Oh, adorable is that? We're going to try and not move at all, but how cute. Oh, welcome to the world. I think this is their first time coming out. So that's 2, definitely. Just send us your one-word comments of what you think about that. That is so awesome. Somebody's doing some burrow maintenance. Oh. Live on Wild Earth. Oh, shame. It's so tiny it's going to get blown over by the wind. Oh, precious. So then that's most likely the alpha female there, and then the other one that we said was the alpha female is quite likely one of the other females that sometimes they sort of become like nursemaids and they will suckle the pups a little bit if they're sort of doing babysitting duty. So, just cute. No, come back. So they're literally seeing the outside world for the first time. They sort of gain confidence. So the rest of the group will be on alert. It's the 2 sub-adults from the previous litter. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Oh, three. We've got 3. 4. So far, I'm the winner. 4 little heads. How cute. Oh. Their legs are still wobbly. They're tripping over each other. That's quite a feat to climb sort of a sand dune to get out of the burrow. Oh, Laura Moore says, peekaboo. That's exactly. So we peekabooed. We've got 4 peekaboos. We'll see how many more. Apparently she was really, really large. That's why the meerkat habituator said she thinks 6. So 4 definite. Well, at this stage, Davy and I are definitely not going anywhere. Let's see what happens. There's another one. He's coming up. He's trying to suckle. I can hear there's a lot more vocalization now that the pups have come out. There's almost a lot more reassurance from the parents. Yeah, though it's the wind that's making them skittish like that. If one of them reacts to some kind of a sound or something like that, then they all just go under. But they chitter. Just, what did you see? What did you think you saw? There's, so 4. Oh. I'm just going to keep quiet and you just enjoy that. So we're going to sit with them, carry on letting them just get used to our presence. We'll stay with them for the next segment.
Welcome back. We've left that cheetah and their little cub, and they walked right into the open, which is beautiful. And we carried on a little bit further down the road, and we came across this stunning bird right on the top of this prominent termite mound. As you can see, it's got a very black belly, long legs and a long neck. It is our black belly bustard, and it's the male, because we can tell that by the very black belly that we can see. The female is a lot lighter in color under her belly there. And what it's doing is it's busy doing its territorial morning call, and hopefully it's going to do one for us soon. Generally they do them in about 5-minute intervals. And we saw one just now, so hopefully we get to see another one. And this is quite typical behavior. You know, they'll find a prominent perch like this within their territory, and they sit and they call for about half an hour. And it's quite something to see. You'll see it draws its head back down and sort of then launches it back up with, as in a cork or champagne bottle sound. So there's got a nickname called the champagne bird. Look, it's just turned its head completely around. No, sorry, I think it actually might be facing us. That is
quite stunning. You can just see the little striations just below that chin.
The play, or the wrestling, that we have been watching between Swazi and Corky's daughter was unbelievable. It's been going on and on and on, and they're so rough with one another. This will be our last moment here. We are going to head to another sighting. But there's a bit of a lineup. It's busy. So we just stayed here a little bit longer. The antics of Swazi are far too entertaining. He's still just a big cub. I don't think we'll see Swazi disperse just yet. He should disperse, as much as I don't want to lose him. It would benefit him in the long run, especially for reproductive success if he disperses. Don't come near me. Again, he's fascinated with the car. And you. Nope. They are so curious, and going back to, I think it was Andrea's comment about them being intelligent. They just want to learn about their surroundings. They just want to know everything. And I think I was referring to a study before something happened and I got distracted. But the size of their frontal cortex is connected or directly related to social intelligence. It won't be the only factor, but hyenas have a really large frontal cortex. And of course, they're social animals. They have to not only navigate their landscape alone, but they have to recognize the enemy. Always know who your enemy is, as in, oh my goodness, as in other hyenas from other clans as well as other predators. But you've got to know your own. They've got to be able to recognize each other. I think it's purely by scent rather than visual. I mean, to some people, all the hyenas look the same. It's not easy. They recognize each other through scent, and that's why they... You two... And that's why they perform the greeting ceremonies. They really, really understand the scent of one another. But they do recognize each other's vocalizations. And as I mentioned earlier, a cub knows his mum's call immediately. And it will recognize mum's scent immediately. This is the rain roof, everyone. So this is happening right in front of the car. This wrestling match. My brother used to make me watch that wrestling program when we were young. I'm sure it used to be called WWF back in the day, but it's now WWE. Shows my age. So during this particular study, captive hyenas, yes, they were captive, but they completely outperformed, they excelled at problem-solving tasks. They were sort of tasked with solving different problems, and social cooperation was so unbelievably high, much higher than in chimpanzees. Not only did they excel at the tasks they were given, they actually solved all the problems they were given in silence. They used only non-verbal signaling to one another, whereas the chimpanzees were very vocal. I don't know the exact details of the study, but the hyenas just excelled at every task they were given silently. So that visibly showed humans that they're intelligent. Then, of course, their frontal cortex was analysed. It's very, very large. The fact that they have a hierarchy and they understand their position as well as the position of all the others. Who's at the top? Who's at the bottom? It shows remarkable cognitive intelligence. They're a really incredible animal. All animals are. Once you really start to learn about them, their biology, how they survive out here, how they navigate their landscape, their social structure, you really begin to understand that particular organism a lot better. And that's what I did with spiders. I was scared. I had arachnophobia. And I forced myself to learn about them. How do they survive? What's the unique, interesting facts about spiders? And it turns out they're so utterly fascinating and remarkable that I started to find myself liking them. And I definitely don't want a spider in my bedroom, but other than that, I really think I've overcame that silly, irrational fear that was arachnophobia, haunted me from childhood. I know most people don't like snakes. A lot of people here in this area are very scared of snakes, and it's understandable. They can kill you. But if you just try to learn that they're most likely not going to come and attack you, unless you corner it or you approach it unknowingly, just try and learn a little bit about snakes, and you'll find a newfound appreciation for them. I see some horrible things written about hyenas, that they should be exterminated. And why? Why would you want to exterminate any animal from the ecosystem? Never mind the ones that play a fundamental role in the ecosystem, such as hyenas. Why would you want to? Oh my goodness. Now Franklin has obviously just discovered that there's hyenas nearby. Every species plays its part, whether you like them or whether you don't. Wiping one out would definitely not solve any problems. In fact, it would make everything so much worse. From your tiny little mosquitoes that bite you, to hyenas, to vultures, to your top carnivores, to your herbivores, everything has its role to play. Nature strives for balance, just like our bodies do. So wiping anything out would definitely not be a good thing. And I'm trying to make sure that everyone falls in love with hyenas as much as I do. So I believe the Talamati pride has been found. So Andrew's going to give you a beautiful silent segment with them.
come to one of the larger waterholes in the west, and we've got quite a nice big pod of hippos over here. And it's quite interesting because these hippos come and go, almost seems like as they please. So sometimes we come here and throughout the day there's absolutely no hippos, and then sometimes there are a big pod like this. And yeah, it's quite cool because there's several different pods. So the main pod is there, and it looks like it's mostly females with some juveniles. But then off to the right hand side, I've seen one female with a very, very small little calf. There's even a fish eagle flying over us at the moment. See, there it goes. Oh, it would be awesome to capture them trying to catch a fish. It looks like it's just going to go and find a perch to scan. I don't know if you can hear that, but the Egyptian geese have gotten into a flat. And it looks like he's perched now. So he'll be looking over this waterhole and looking for any opportunity to try and come down and catch a fish. If we go back down towards the waterhole, it seems like the hippos are starting to move around more. It almost looks like they're coming to investigate to see what we are up to. But the ones closest to us are BK, so this is the two that have separated themselves from the pod. And look at that youngster on the left. Very, very small. It looks like there's another one coming to join in. And watch how the mother on the right-hand side, so she will basically have her head up permanently, but the youngster will keep dropping down. And I would imagine that the water's too deep for it to kind of sit on its bum and pick its head up above. And so it will have to jump up from the bottom of the water like that, have a breath, and then it's probably going to have to go back down as it starts sinking, like that. Not too many animals around, the land mammals coming down to drink. And I would imagine that it's because of the recent rains. There seems to be a lot of different water and groundwater available, so they don't necessarily need to come to big water holes like this anymore. They can just walk up towards a small puddle and then carry on with their day. Nice to see quite a lot of movement, and there are, I mean, there's a few different youngsters that I can see. There's the one that we've been looking at, and then there's actually another group that's making their way in towards this area. And if we look at the water, I mean, look how still it is. And I think because the wind is coming from us over the water, the dam wall itself is creating some sort of shelter. And so maybe these hippos are just trying to escape the wind and get into some stiller water where they're probably a little bit more comfortable. And let's see how many we've got here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adults. Quite hard to keep track of all of the youngsters with their heads bobbing up and down. Oh, there's a very, very small one. If we go maybe just to the right-hand side, not that one big, so if we go to the right-hand side of the group, I think it's that female. So just watch around her head. Every now and again, there's a really, really small head that just pops its head up, takes a breath, and then drops straight back down. There we go. There it is. Oh, it's tiny. Big breath and down again. That one hippo right in the middle of the group looks like the biggest one. Just by looking at the nostrils, and it's got lots and lots of lip hairs, and I think that is the male of this waterhole. And so all of these very small youngsters will be his. See if we can see any signs of more life around here. I think I can see some fish surfacing every now and again, and that's more than likely catfish. And then we do have a resident crocodile that's around here. And sometimes we see them on the bank. I think it's a bit cold for them, so they might be doing exactly what the hippos are doing, is just trying to escape this cold breeze. And so it will be in the water. Some terrapins around. Egyptian geese, as always, around waterholes. Oh, Justice, that's a question that I thought I'd never get. Is it true that hippos don't like the color red? And I'm not entirely sure, so I will have to do some research on that, and I'll try and get back to you by this afternoon, Justice. I'd love to know what colors they would be able to see. Different mammals have got different cones and rods, which allows them to see in different colors. So it'll be interesting. I mean, they are mostly nocturnal, and so I'd imagine they'll have eyes that are more adapted for seeing in dark conditions rather than seeing vivid colors like humans can. And I'm sure that there's that very small youngster. Almost looks like it's trying to get onto the back of the mother. So I think we'll probably move on from here and see if we can try and find any tracks of the lions we've been looking for. So far, no luck for this morning, but we'll keep trying, and we'll send you across to a much drier area with some meerkats.
No. So we've got 4 little rockets. That's all we've seen. So they're wanting to move. The adults of the majority of the group has moved off a little bit, started foraging, and then we're not 100% sure what happened. There was like a shuffle, and they tried to shove the little pups down into the hole, and then one of the adults, we weren't 100% sure which one, actually grabbed one of the pups around the neck and then sort of carried it to another den, and it's there on the left-hand side, just standing by the adult all by itself, and then these 3 are in this little den. So they're definitely looking around. They may or may not have seen a jackal or something like that. So you might actually see a meerkat actually pick up one of the pups, which is it was my first time seeing it, and carry it across to the others, or they're trying to encourage them to follow, which is probably what's happening there. Yeah, they're still on alert. It's still quite windy. But they did. They literally just sort of herded them into the hole. But of course, that's like telling children that they can't go out to the playground, because it was probably about 2 seconds later and they were all back out the hole. So it's quite challenging for 6 of them to manage 4 little youngsters. So there are 3 this side and the other one's with one of the other adults. So they'll start slowly going out foraging with the adults, but they stick close to the adults. So each sort of adult adopts a pup, and then when they scratch and they feed, they will feed them initially, and the pups will beg, and the adults will just keep feeding them. But if it is something that the adult themselves enjoy, sometimes they'll eat that first, and then they'll go and find a little sort of like a common beetle or something to feed the little pups. They are definitely nervous about something from the south of the den. So they wouldn't necessarily, with the wind being quite strong, they wouldn't necessarily hear it. So it would have to be something that they can visually see. But oh, look at the balance. Oh, they try so hard. Oops, and it doesn't always work. This is just too cute. They're still very, very vocal. They're constantly sort of chittering and talking to each other, so it's the reassurance from the parents and the other meerkats and the meerkats, so that they know that they're on alert. Even the little pups are talking quite a bit. But the one was earlier sitting there next to the mother, facing the sun, just shivering with the wind. So AF is asking, how long do meerkats live for? And it could be about 10 to 12 years, but it does depend on their success and other predators, of course. But in captivity, probably 15 or more, but definitely in the wild, 10 to 12 years is what's been recorded. So these little ones are only 3 weeks old. Whoopsie. Trying to get a little bit more milk from mum. So she's trying to tell them that it's now no longer milk time, it's now they've got to start eating insects. So when they're teaching them, they'll bring them food that they give them that they know that they can eat, and then they watch and they observe all the adults digging, and within a few days of them going out foraging with the adults, you can see the pups, they're digging, and they kind of don't know what they're digging for or where they're digging, but they know they need to dig in order to find food. So wow, Darby just said you all saw that. So they've moved them. They might be deciding to move them into another den to leave them with a babysitter for the day. So we don't quite know what's happening, but it's really awesome to see them pick them up. So now two in the one hole and two this way. Shame. The wind is quite strong still. Oh, he's trying. So they have tried to prop themselves up on their tail already, so they're sort of getting it right, but they don't manage to maintain their balance for really, really long. They have to develop those muscles. But Darby and I were saying that we're just amazed at how agile they actually are already. I mean, they're running around and they're doing stuff, and they've literally just come out of a hole. So a lot more than what we thought. Yeah, you might get another carry here. Yeah. Which one? Whose turn? Just waiting, watching. It's so awesome to be able to spend time with these animals in this type of environment that they habituated, that they allow our presence. I mean, Darby and I are literally sitting 6 meters away from them, and nothing has altered their behavior at all. They're not even concerned about us, and that's one of the better ways to habituate the pups, is when they keep coming out and they see people for the first time. When they realize that you're absolutely no threat at all, that's the long process of habituation. And then, generation after generation, it's relatively easy. So keep your questions coming, #WildEarth, and remember to put at FC in front of the question. Well, there's some serious burrow maintenance going on the left there. There's just sand flying out of the den. So Annalise is asking the question, do meerkats eat snakes? So I'd say yes, they do, but not necessarily how you would think, like a large cobra, for example. Generally the cobras, they're just, one's going to get picked up. There we go. So, it doesn't look like the most comfortable carry. At least the pup stayed still. So with snakes, they will have small little, you get like worm lizards and thread snakes and other things that they definitely will eat, but they don't specifically aim to eat things like Cape Cobras. Generally the Cape Cobra is bigger than them, and they're just sort of mobbing the cobra to make it move on. Their pups are vulnerable to being taken by snakes, but they themselves will eat snakes, but generally relatively small snakes. They're not going to eat, for example, a cobra that's 1.5 meters in length. Oh, so last one left. This last one's getting very vocal. He's like, did he just fall over again? They are so wobbly on their legs. Darby and I watched one trying to go forwards that landed up taking 2 steps to the right and fell down the embankment. So they are just too precious when they're this size. And they grow so quickly. Within weeks, they're little subadult meerkat, and you don't even notice. But at the moment, still, babies needing a lot of attention. Look, it's managing, but for how long? Sit down, just. So some of their behavior will be learned, and some of their behavior will be instinctual. So AC is asking the question, how small are meerkats? So weight-wise, they're weighing less than 1 kilogram. And height-wise, when they're standing, probably about 20 centimeters, maybe a little bit more. But these little guys are probably only about, I would say 200 grams if I had to guess. I don't know, Darby, what do you think? They're pretty tiny. Listen, he's just let off a little bit of an alarm because obviously he's gone down in the hole and there was no one there. So he's trying to get them to come fetch him. There we go, they've responded. Is she going to get picked up? There you go. So I would just say moving the den for the day, and you never know, dens need to be cleaned. There's probably there's droppings or things in the den. There might be ticks, there might be fleas, so they'll do some burrow maintenance, but moving them to a clean, fresh den is not a bad thing. And they probably are going to start hitting, the rest of them will carry on foraging and just leave at least one babysitter behind. But they forage close by and then they keep coming to check, so the babysitter gets a little bit of reprieve to go and get some food for themselves, and then somebody else will take over babysitter duty. So the alpha female, because she's done most of the rearing, she doesn't do too much babysitter duty. She gets to go out and feed, because then that food then supplements the milk that she needs to provide with the pups. Jay, you're asking a very good question. How do meerkat pups survive in the rainy season? Most of these little burrows, the soil drains relatively quickly, but we have had situations where you will have heavy rains, and then there is the possibility that they could drown, and that's not ideal. But yeah, they seem to get through. We just get these sort of thunderstorm bursts in the afternoons, and you could have sort of up to 30-50 mils of rain in a couple of hours, and then it just sort of drains through the soil. Sometimes they also build sort of a shelf inside the burrow, so it'll go down and then go up and then onto a shelf, so that if there is any water, they should be hopefully above that water line. But But sometimes also, if you look at the way that they're constantly cleaning, but they almost have like a little ridge around the edge of the burrow. Sometimes that also, if there's water flow, that'll stop the water from flowing down and into the burrow. But I can't say that that's done on purpose. It's just kind of the way that they clean their burrows. Oh yeah, all the pups have emerged now on the other side, and somebody's doing housekeeping. They're just getting covered in sand. So yeah, I don't think that they'll go feeding with the adults today. I think that they're still trying to keep them at home for a little bit. Whoopsie. Yeah, she's just grabbed another one around the neck and taking it down the hole. So I do think she's trying to leave them behind in another hole for the day, and then they want to go out feeding. It's very fortunate that it's the summer season, so there's lots of insects available for them. So they can afford to spend a little bit of time around the burrows doing maintenance and being with the pups for a bit, because there is an abundance of food. So they also you can't not laugh when something like that happens. He just completely lost control and fell over. Oh. They're just really, really awesome to sit and watch. Heidi's asking the question, would meerkats find bat-eared foxes dangerous? Well, the bat-eared foxes, you must remember that most of the time they go foraging at night, which by that time the meerkats are safe in their burrow and possibly fast asleep. So unlikely, but bat-eared fox do take small rodents and things, but I haven't heard it recorded and I haven't seen them being bothered by bat-eared foxes. So I'd say probably not. Bat-eared foxes also tend to focus most of their energy on looking for insects. So from a food point of view, there would be competition, but not necessarily as a threat. I would say they definitely feel more threatened by a jackal than they would a bat-eared fox. So, did those other adults come back, Darby? I don't see all the adults. Looks like they've left 2 here and the others have gone foraging. Oh, you head over to Lauren. She's got something awesome to show you.
Well, our drought of spots. No, we've had spotty hyenas. Feline spots has came to an end. We have Kuchava. I believe Cub is here as well. I can't see, we've just arrived on the scene. There's elephants in the background, that's what she's looking at. Huge herd of elephants just walking behind the mound. I can't see Cub, but he's here somewhere. Now, we've been quite lucky with Kuchava sightings. I believe Tristan had her quite a few times. And considering we didn't see her for long enough, everyone was panicking. Where's Kuchava? Where's Kuchava? Well, she's here. And Kuchava is, of course, part of the royal lineage. Tandy's beautiful daughter. Lovely leopardess. Her territory is mainly Chitwa. But Chitwa's small and it extends up into Torchwood. But the more eastern side of Torchwood rather than the western side, which is very close to Djuma, just to give you context for those who are familiar with the area. Isn't she just beautiful? I think the herd of elephants have gone. I was interested to see how that was going to go, how she was going to interact. She'll normally just watch. As long as the elephants don't smell her, they won't really see her. As long as they don't smell her, they won't react also. I think the wind is in her favour this morning. So good to see a leopard. A lot of people get Tandy and Kuchava mixed up, and although they're completely different ages, I can see how that can happen. She's got that Tandy look. She's got the Tandy stare, not the Tandy smile. I've never seen a Tandy smile, but she's got that Tandy look. The eyelids, or something in the eyes that is pretty much identical, I think. And even in a petite little female like Kuchava, you can see those huge shoulder blades. Scapula, filled with lots of special muscle attachment sites that humans don't have, in order for them to hoist not only themselves, but a carcass up the tree. Kuchava, I've never seen Kuchava on Juma. I mean, she may pop in the eastern side from time to time, but I've never had a sighting personally of Kuchava on Juma. She really doesn't cross in there too much. Where's your cup, my dear? I'd quite like to see the two of you. Now, we know that our mother was Tandy, obviously. It's always very obvious who the mother is. But Panthera, the organisation, you can check them out on panthera.org. They have a really nice website, confirmed through scat analysis that Mvula was definitely the father. And she's 6 years old. So she's still in her prime as a leopardess. She doesn't look as aged as Tandy, shall we say. Sorry, it's just another vehicle repositioning. It's also in the sighting. We had to wait a little while. It was a busy sighting and we're quite far down. I don't know if I mentioned already, but we're on Chitwa. Everyone's seen how regal she looks. Oh yes, it's in her DNA to look that way. Proudly sitting on top of a Shidulu. Not Shidulu the leopardess, but an actual Shidulu. And I believe our very own Herbie was the one responsible for finding her. I definitely can't take any credit for this. Herbert, the most magical smile in the entire world. I think he found her. Of course he did. Now her name means scared. She was quite a skittish cub. But she's definitely not that way anymore. She's grown into a beautiful leopardess who's very habituated around vehicles. And that just shows you the importance of habituation. I mean, Tingana means shy. Poof. That cat is not shy. But when he first arrived on Juma, I think he was around 3 years old, he definitely was very, very shy. Now, just an update. I've had lots of messages from you all, which is incredibly sweet, about Hosanna. Now, Hosanna is very, very far west. He is believed to be at the border of Simbambili, but it's very far west. Simbambili is very narrow, but very long. And it's not quite on Simbambili yet. There's no way. We can go there, yes, but there's no way we can broadcast from there. So I promise you, as soon as Hosanna comes in an area that's remotely broadcastable for us, we will be there. I absolutely promise you. Every day I ask the universe, please bring Hosanna back. He's so close yet so far. Please bring Hosanna back. Please bring Hosanna back. He easily could, you know. It would just take for him to walk more east. And if he came back, it's not his father's territory anymore, for sure. It's not Tingana's territory. Oh, imagine. Anyway, there is a cub here, and it's a male. For those of you who are not sure, she's got a boy cub. And he was born in October 2019. So he's over 1 now. 1 year and 2 months, I guess. And I see other vehicles pointing at something, so I think he's just behind the mound. So maybe shortly we'll reposition and we'll get a good view of him as well. Father currently unknown. Lots of speculation. But father unknown. Stuck in bed. I was just chatting to you yesterday. Lovely to hear from you. You were asking who's the largest female leopard that we have. It's difficult to say because we see them all separately. But Tandy is particularly petite. She is particularly dainty and small. Shidulu's a very large leopardess. Very large. Her boots are made for walking. Kuchava's also quite petite. That's why she gets confused for Tandy, amongst other reasons. Cebui's quite big. I would say out of all the leopardesses that we see, possibly Shidulu. Kalamba's getting chunky. She's filling out nicely. She's also quite short. I think I would go for Shidulu. Shidulu also has very big tracks. Luna and Ikanyeni that we don't see, but they are leopardesses that are around. They're also very petite. So stuck in bed, I think I'm going to go with Shidulu. But I would love to see them all lined up together. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Okay, so I'm going to reposition and hopefully we'll get a glimpse of her cub.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So welcome back. Last time we were with that beautiful black-bellied bustard, and we've actually come to a different section of reserve. The reserve in search of cheetah and lion, and as you can see, we've actually been successful. And we found these two males. Now, the reason I say they're males is straight away you know, because it's two fully grown cheetah together. Only the males will stick together at this age, and the females will become independent from about 18 months. and thereafter either be by themselves or with their cubs. And males that are born together will form coalitions with other males that are born in the same litter, or sometimes can accept other males into a coalition with them. You can see you've got two here that are taking turns having a little scan around. And I'm sure some of our viewers who have watched the show quite a bit know these two males. They've actually got a beautiful story. And we refer to them as our orphan male cheetah on the reserve. And they were born in May of 2017. So what happened when they were about 8 months old, their mother was killed. We're not sure by what. There's different theories, but she didn't make it, and at 8 months old, it's very difficult for cheetah cubs to survive. It's almost unheard of. They're normally independent only at 17 or 18 months, and even then, they've got a really high mortality rate, because a lot of what they've done up to that point is more mimicking their mother's behavior and trying to understand exactly sort of what is, and trying to figure out, her behavior and how to survive. But a lot of that is not understood fully. They know to look around, they know to stay downwind, to face their backs towards the wind and scan in front. But it really takes interactions and close interactions with predators to why they behave a certain way. You can see he's just picked up his head there and he's busy smelling any scents that are coming in the wind here. So incredible that these males managed to survive. And the reason they did is because it coincided with this time of the year, which is our lambing season. So it's the easiest type of prey that they can get, those baby impala lambs. And we were quite pleasantly surprised to find them a few weeks later, after they thought they were certainly not going to make it, to find them feeding on an impala lamb carcass. And they've just sort of grown from strength to strength since then. Now, over 3.5 years old, and even starting to exhibit some really territorial behavior. It's going to be interesting to see. We've got another coalition that stay quite close to the territory that these males have established, and it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to try and challenge them for their territory, because there is a difference in cheetah territory when you compare it to male and lions, and the most desired territory is 2 small sections of territory with a long strip connecting them. And the reason they want that kind of territory is because a lot of females will cross over that long strip, walking between areas where they're going to hunt. The females aren't territorial, so they will walk around the entire reserve. And if they walk past it opens, the males might catch the scent of them, and they can find a female that's an estrus a lot easier that way. It's going to be interesting to see in the next year or so if they start to challenge the existing coalition or the more dominant coalition for that territory, because there's only enough space in our reserve for one long strip, because it literally goes from end to end right through the middle of the reserve. You can actually see there's quite a few flies on this cheetah's face. Alyssa, no, they definitely didn't have anything to do with the missing cubs. And the reason I say this is just because of the distance between these males and those cubs that we were looking at earlier. Those cubs are in the south of our reserve, close to our airstrip, and this in the far western section. So quite a few kilometers, and there's been no movement of these males through that area recently. Valid though, because there is male cheetah do actually commit infanticide. Now, there's one of those things that I've researched in books. There's a bit of controversy over it, saying some people think being here have actually seen with their own eyes male cheetah killing other cubs, and why they would do that is a similar reason for lion and leopard committing infanticide too, and it would be because they have not mated with a female and they recognize those cubs of not being of their own genetics. So they'll kill the cubs so that the female can go back into estrus, so they can actually pass their own genes on. seems like quite a cruel pattern, but it's the way, it's sort of a survival in the fittest out here in Africa. So the males know if they don't kill those cubs, the female is actually going to take quite a long time to get into estrus again until her cubs are almost independent. So they'd rather actually kill them and bring her into estrus a little bit quicker. So we're going to stay with these males for a little bit and just see what they get up to. And we're going to send you to another animal that's out in the open and is enjoying the hot summer morning.
It is the little rockets have been put underground in this new burrow, and 3 of the adults have gone out foraging. They're probably about 50 meters apart, and then 3 of them have stayed here with the pups at this stage. There's a lot of vocalization going on amongst them, but I think it's just to try and maintain contact between the 2 different groups. It is difficult for them. They're trying to sort of keep contact calling, but with this wind, they might not be communicating with each other effectively. So there's the odd, there is a little pup that's on its way out. Every now and again it comes out and then it just gets shoved down by one of the adults to say no, it's bedtime. So we'll see what happens, but grooming on constant alert. There we go, there's one of the youngsters. There's one persistent one. I think it's the same one that keeps coming out, and then it keeps getting told, off you go, and gets sent back down to the bottom. But you can see the size difference between a new pup, a sub-adult, and an adult now as they stand next to each other. So that sub-adult would have been the last generation of pups, and their success of having pups, they can have pups at any time of the year, and the number, right up to about 6, but the number would depend on how much food they're getting, and their survival rate will depend on the success of how they manage to nurture and look after these pups. As well as sometimes the size of the group makes a big challenge also, depending on what predators are around. So she seems to do quite well, this alpha female with 4, but only 2 sub-adults made it from the last group of young pups, and I think there were 5 to start. But it becomes a collective now. Now everybody's invested in looking after the pups, feeding them. They'll get babysitters, and then each one of them will have a pup that follows them for feeding. So in the next couple of days, I'm sure they'll start being a little bit more mobile with the group and starting to get a taste of insects for the first time. Is asking, do other animals go into the burrows? So this burrow system, as it were, there's some holes that are interconnecting, and then some that are almost compartmentalized into different sort of units. So we have had co-sharing at burrows before. Most of the time the burrows are actually started by the Cape ground squirrel, and then the meerkats, when the Cape ground squirrel have moved on, the meerkats modify them for themselves. But we've seen ground squirrel, we've seen Cape fox, we've also seen yellow mongoose, all sort of cohabiting. Not all 4 species in one burrow system. Generally it's only about 2. So generally it's either some squirrels, some meerkats, or we've got Cape fox and squirrel sharing at the moment. But they don't necessarily share the same hole. They just share the burrow system. But the only ones we've been seeing at this burrow system for a long time is only the rock stars. We haven't seen any other animals join them at this den. But also, once they go away for a while, it's almost like free occupation. So if anybody else comes along and they're looking for a burrow, and this is unoccupied at that point in time, they also can move in. But the meerkats can be quite aggressive with squirrels and that if they want to. So he's starting to try and dig. He knows this is what I have to do. Yeah, the other three have moved a little bit further away, so they are heading out foraging almost across the wind, which is quite smart, because then they're getting smells from different danger. I didn't get the name there, but Tato is asking, do we think meerkats live in constant anxiety? I think often we make the mistake of associating human anxiety with animal anxiety. They certainly are always on alert. I don't know if that causes them anxiety that they need medication for that, but they are always on alert. It's the same as like an impala, you know, for every day of its life it's got to look over its shoulder because there's a possibility of a leopard or a lion or something that could to try and catch it and eat it. So they've just got to be doing their job. That's the most important thing, that the meerkats, the sentries, have to be doing their job and looking out for danger. And if they are on alert and sound the alarm, then everyone tends to see the next day, because they'll all react to that alarm very, very quickly. But I think anxiety is probably a human trait more than one for animals. Oh. This is all part of the discovery. How do things work? What do they smell like? There we go. See, that's almost, it must be instinctual. It already knows to dig. So, there, oh. So we're going to head off and see if we can find you something else, and maybe tomorrow we'll try the Battiat Fox Den, and then the next day come for a Rockstar update. But they look like they're sleeping.
We've managed to catch up with them both. The cub is here. There you go. Hello. Aren't you handsome? Yes, you are. He's looking so much older than the last time. The last time I saw this boy was with James. Oh, long ago. And here they are both together. Kuchava's still up on the mound. There's a good 10 meters between them. It's really lovely. I always find it quite endearing to see mother and cub together. Someone calling me. Hold on. Standing by.
Roy?
No, it's not me. It's Roy. Roy. Our Eastern channel never works too well. Now, normally male cubs stay with their mothers for a little bit longer than female cubs do. Normally males will stay with their mum for up to 2 years. So we could see this boy with his mum for at least another sort of 8 to 10 months or so. And they're not together all the time, but you will still see them very much spending time together before he gets ready to disperse. Now, for a female cub, we normally find that they sort of are pushed to independence slightly earlier, and that's because they're the same sex as the mother. Competition, really. You'll normally find they go independent at around 18 months, so a year and a half. They may still bump into their mother. It's a bit of a slow. We can still see you. Now, I'm going to speculate and, well, you know, probably cause some trouble, but I look at that and I see Mulwati. What do you all think? Could be quarantine. Could be Mulwati. Could actually be many of the males. Technically, could be Tungana. There's lots of male leopards down in the south that Kuchava has access to that we don't really sort of ever see. But I see Mulwati. That nose and the eyes. We'll need to get collecting scat samples again soon. If he goes to the toilet in front of us, I will actually make a point of picking it up. I don't believe the scat for Kuchava's son has been collected yet. It could be wrong. Mum's on the move. Are we going to follow? Where's Mum? Oh, quick click over to Pinda.
Welcome back. We have got something unbelievably special for you to see today. As you can see, we've got 2 white rhino busy mating. This is a very unique and rare sighting. We spotted them from quite a distance. They've already been mating for about 5 minutes already. They can last up to half an hour. You see that female starting to get uncomfortable. You can imagine the weight of that male right on top of her. And just now his legs were actually shaking. He's struggling to keep his grip. It's an incredibly rare and unique sighting. You can see another rhino coming into the picture. And what I'm noticing now is it actually seems, this is quite confusing. You see that the rhino at the back? I'm wondering what the dynamic is here. That rhino at the back seems to be a little bit bigger than the one in the front. So I'm wondering if perhaps it is the mother of the sub-adult. Perhaps it's a younger female that's joined together with this mother or this female just for added protection. You can see she's starting to get uncomfortable and he's struggling to hold on at the moment. Look at that, look at that. You can actually see he's going back in. I can't even believe the view we're busy getting here. Rhinos are incredibly fertile creatures. Generally, one mating like this is enough to actually impregnate this female. They often only mate once. Just trying to have a look. That one at the back might be another male. Nancy, yes, I think incredibly. Incredibly tiring at the moment, Nancy. Sorry, I just got a bit distracted there. There's a vehicle I'm driving past and they were trying to tell me something, but I'm not quite sure what. I think the dynamics here are so interesting. Let's just sit and watch and try and figure out exactly what's happening. So Alyssa, yes, females will mate with more than one male. What would have happened here is that she, in a dung midden, she would have actually dropped her dung, and the male would have got the scent that she's an estrus and would follow that scent until he found her. Oh, oh, look at that. Oh my word. That was quite hilarious. So if another male were to actually come across her while she's still in estrus or still producing the scent, then he might get a chance to mate. It's quite a long courting process. You'll see that they actually have to keep their distance for a while until the females get used to them, and then they can approach and mate. I'm really interested to see the dynamic of these two, because I can see they're about the same size. She's gone straight to that other one, so it makes me feel like there's possibly another female that's just joined together. You can see the size difference beautifully between the males and the females now. That is quite a spectrum. Amazing how as soon as it's done, he's staying, keeping his distance. He most likely won't even follow her. As I said, that, he's now starting to follow her. Which are they tend to only sometimes mate once. Can mate a few times if given the opportunity. But they do have an incredibly high fertility. This one on her left is actually being quite protective. Amazing after all of that how they all seem to just go back to their normal routine. See the male's putting his head down. Looks like he's almost about to start feeding now. So Riley, there are cases of rhino twins. They are very, very rare, but there have been cases before. Generally just one. You know, rhinos have quite a long gestation, between 15 and 16 months. So a long gestation generally means that there's only one sort of calf that will be born. So we never know. This is really interesting. So you see that one that's now being quite aggressive. I've just looked between the legs. It is a young male, but definitely too young to be mating at the moment. So I think it is her not even a satellite calf, probably her previous calf that has just actually stayed around for a very long time. Now, their calves can leave anywhere between 2.5 to 4. I think this one's probably closer to the 4-year mark. If you have a look, it's almost the same size as the fully grown female. But they will only their calves will only be kicked out by the mother once they give birth to a new calf. So I think that's what might have happened with this female. She maybe hasn't actually given birth to a calf for quite a while, maybe hasn't had the opportunity to mate until now. And so this calf stayed with her for an extended period of time, and is now being quite protective of that mother to this male. You can see this male's actually now started to just feed again. It's interesting that he's still staying towards the female. He's still almost keeping that courting process. It could be that he's attempting or wants to attempt to mate again. They're going to come up just behind us here. Okay, I'm just going to reverse a little bit so we can get a view. So just bear with us for now. You can see really clearly now that one at the back is a young male. And the reason that I say it's probably her calf is because of how comfortable she is with that young male. You know, she went straight back towards him. There wasn't any sort of fear or intimidation, which means it's not another male that's been following her or trying to mate with her. I think it is a related male. And you can quite clearly see the difference in size between that young male and the bigger one on the left. I can't believe how lucky we were to witness something like that. So we're going to sit here and I think just bask in the glory of what we just saw, because I'm quite overwhelmed and very excited by it. And we're going to send you to a beautiful, serene scene where you're going to sit and appreciate the sounds of nature.
Now, Kuchava's wandered off, but we're still sitting here with her son. I feel he's very similar in appearance, actually, to Tandy's son. And I think they look quite alike. But he's also not skittish, that's not the right word, but When Mama's not around, he likes to keep himself hidden. He likes to be covered. He's not fully confident yet. That'll come. I think we just got too used to... Oh, you tired? We just got too used to the likes of Hosanna, who is an extraordinary, relaxed leopard. I just love summer. It makes it very difficult for us to off-road. It makes it very difficult for us to see and find animals, but when you find animals, especially a leopard, the colour of leopards in contrast to the greenery, I love it. It's perfect for photography as well. Been very lucky with spots today, from hyenas to leopards. And if you think of all our females in the area, Ikanyeni, we really don't get to see her, but hopefully one day we will. She's got a cub. Kuchava's got a son. Tandy's got a son. Subui's got a son and daughter. Shadulu's been mating again with Mr. Hukamore. Hopefully more Hukadulus. I'm sure it was one of you viewers that came up with that amazing term, Hukadulu. It is just the best. And yes, that's all the surrounding females that we really have in Sele. And Sele was seen mating with Tingana not so long ago. And Kalamba. I really hope the turn of the new year we see Kalamba with little ones. The area's thriving with leopards. Katie does indeed. Beautiful eyes. Really dark little nose. Stunning eyes. He's got those heavy eyelids like his mom, if that makes sense. Quite, I don't know the correct term for it, but quite droopier upper lids, if that makes sense. I think he looks like Kuchava in that regard. It's not the best visuals, but the minute I turn my engine on, he's really not. We can still see you. Oh, okay, now we really can't. We can see a tree. Okay, let me try and go forward, Joanne. But for the Easties still, I cannot guarantee. It's okay, boy. We just want to say hi. Can you get him from here? A bit more. There we go. Look at those big ears. He still looks like he's got a lot of growing into his ears. I love that about young leopards. Jane, you love his forehead spots. You've actually just pointed this out to me. Yes, he's got quite an iconic... What could we say? How could we describe that? You're thinking it'll make him really easy to identify. It almost looks like a bat. Do you see that? They're on sort of the inner edges of the eye. If you go directly up, there's really thick lines. And then the adjoining lines look like a bat. Does anyone else see bat? We can call him Batman. Do you like that name, Batman? Oh, you do? That's great. Of course you do. He's just absolutely gorgeous. Can't believe how big he is. Of course animals grow. Of course they grow at a fast rate. I have that knowledge, but it isn't until you see an animal compared to the last time you saw it. He's grown so much. think they've separated for now. Kochava was actually snarling at him. It's the first time I've seen her do the Tandy snarl. She was snarling at him earlier. And it's just their way of communicating, I guess. He needs to spend time on his own. There's no way that he can spend sort of 2 years, 18 months next to Mom. He wouldn't learn any sort of skills about navigating the environment out here. I think the cub would choose to be with Mom all the time if they could, so that's why Mom has to signal to him by snarling to him. It's, go away, little one. He should be due a name soon, I believe. Sibui's cubs have names now. Everyone can see the bat. I'm so glad. Sometimes I think I see things. You can all see the bat. You're thinking Bruce Wayne. Hello, Bruce. I like Batman. It's obviously not going to be his name, might I clarify. That will be decided by other people. But at least if we give him a temporary nickname, it's better than saying him and he all the time. Little Brucey. I like it. We're so deep in a block, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to get out of here, but you guys don't need to worry about that. Yuan does, though. And this is why we don't always find leopards. He's so small, he's hidden, he's in the deep, deep heart of a thick block. Without seeing his tracks on the roads, it'd be impossible to know there was ever a leopard here. I think I'm falling in love here. You keep turning that ear. Now, comparing male and female leopards, I've already mentioned that they reach independence at different times. They have different life goals, if you think about it. Our males got to disperse away from potential fathers and other males in the area, got to find their own territory. That very soon, maybe in about a year or so, his main goal in life will be to explore. He's got to learn, he's got to travel different areas and find a vacant space. And if there's no vacant space, he's going to have to challenge. And he's going to navigate that entire exploration through scent. Whose sort of odor fence is he penetrating into? Who's around? Is this an old smell? Maybe someone's not been marking very recently. Is it a recent smell? Is it a very dominant male? He'll be able to tell all that through scent. And that will be his main goal, just like Hosanna. For those of you that remember Hosanna, or you were with us during the Hosanna days, he left, he came back, he left, he came back, and then he went on a big exploration to set up territory. And as a youngster, they can set up quite a small territory, and then they'll expand it and get bigger and bigger as they come into their prime. When a male leopard's in his prime, he wants a huge territory. He wants all the ladies that he can possibly find in his territory. And I think Batman here will be a ladies' man. So the core goal is territory, and that will secondary come with females. I think in this area, the minimum amount of females a male leopard will have within their territory is 3. That alone is a lot of ladies. But the bigger the territory, of course, it's inevitable you'll have more females' territories within your territory. It's all about reproducing for the males, whereas for the females, they will disperse, and they're thinking, of course, also about setting up a territory, but they're looking more at resources. An area that's got lots of food, a sort of guaranteed supply of water for bringing up cubs. And it will inevitably be inside a male's territory, and that will be the dominant male that resides over that female. But when they're ready to mate, because females are promiscuous, they can move extraterritorially. They can leave their territory and sneak into another female's territory in order to mate with a different male. Again, just the same as lions, confusing paternity is important. You mate with Quarantine, Tungana, Mulwati. Not only are you a lucky lady with all those handsome men, you're making them all think, you've mated with them all, you're making them all think that they could potentially be the father. But of course, only one will be the father. I've got to keep it spicy, you know? And that's just the female's way of ensuring the cub's safety. Because male leopards, will kill cubs if they think it's not their own. They absolutely will. Tungana's been known to kill, not necessarily cubs, but young female leopards, because they were not in estrus. He couldn't mate with them. They're foreign, they're unknown, and he obviously doesn't think he's the father. So it does happen. So we're going to try and stay with our little Batman here, but we're going to send you down to Tswalu with some antelope.
Perfect. It's like he knew I needed to get up. Beautiful sable bull. You're back in the Kalahari, and he was lying down, so I don't know if it was a case of... Oops. I don't know if it was a case of still sleeping in, or actually starting to find a place to lie down because it's starting to get quite warm. But it must have been some louse flies that were biting him there, because he stood up and he moved from that position very quickly. But look at those beautiful, beautiful beautiful sort of curve-shaped horns. No, that's not going to help us for TV. We're probably going to have to move the vehicle. Maybe. He's probably like, this is a nice shady spot for me. He's probably going to go and stand right there. No, he's coming out. He's coming out on the right. Absolutely beautiful. So you know it's a bull by looking at the coloration. So a male is sort of dark black, and then a female more of a rusty brown color. And it's not unusual to find solitary bulls. But otherwise, if you find a breeding herd with females and calves, you'd only see one bull. Well, that was his cameo appearance. It looks like he's heading into a three-thorn thicket, so it's going to be quite difficult to maintain a visual of him. But keep your questions coming. We're going to carry on. We're going to try the bat-eared fox den. We might be a little bit too late this morning, but that's our sort of next stop, is hopefully it's still nice and warm. Maybe the little bat-eared fox kits is their name, are actually out. So you can drive with us as we go through the Dune Street. We're not too far from the den, so we're going to send you, in the meantime, back to Lauren with her leopard. And I believe.
We're still with him. He's practicing his blue steel, or his magnum. Vogue. But although he's behaving a little bit more cautious because Mum's not around, he's still clearly habituated. He's about 10 meters, 30 feet from the car, and he's clearly relaxed. He's watching us, he's aware of us, he's listening. He's thinking, oh goodness, here she goes again. And he can smell. But the smells will not be pleasant, and that's not Johan and I, although it could be. It's the car. The car will probably have a very, very strong chemical, mechanical smell. All the fluids, the fuel. That's what he needs to get used to. And although, to to be perfectly honest. We mostly habituate animals so that we can spend time with them. So there's a selfish component there from a human perspective. It does actually benefit the animals, and you must remember that. You can't... It's not going to be good for the animals' welfare. Oh, so cute when he looks up. What are you looking at? It's not going to be good for the animals' welfare to always react negatively and respond in fear, flight or fight mode, to always flee when there's a vehicle. Because there's lots of vehicles here, there's lots of traffic, there's lots of lodges, there's lots of people out and about. It wouldn't be in the animal's best interest to always react with a sort of stressed response to a vehicle, increase their cortisol and flee. We don't want that. So yes, there's a selfish element to habituation. It does allow us to see these animals, to spend time with them, to study them. But it's also in the animal's best interest as well to know that we are not a threat, because we're not. There's no way for the species out here to avoid vehicles at some point in their life. So it's good to sort of habituate them when they're young, get them accustomed to the sounds, the smell. It's probably the most awful thing when you first encounter a vehicle as a leopard. Like, what is that awful smell of petrol? Who are these awful people? But slowly but surely they get used to it. We're part of their environment. And I think that's the key, to become part of their environment. It's something that they see every day. It's just something they're used to. Just like there's trees and there's bushes and there's flowers, there's also vehicles, if that makes sense. And we just like to spend time with you guys, don't we? So once again, I'm going to try and sit here. But from one feline, we're going to send you across to a canid.
So from Batman Lawrence leopard to bat-eared foxes. So we have got 2 adults here at the den. Can't see any pups at this stage, and we do have, and very interesting, the bat-eared fox at the back of the 2 seems to have a bend in his ear. He's trying to hold them flat, but he's got a little bit of a kink. So he'll actually be quite easy to recognize. Every time we come, is oh no, his ear's fine now. Oh no, there it goes. So she's just moved into the shade. It's yeah, the sun's there's no clouds in the sky, so the sun is quite hot. So they're just enjoying the shadow there. So still no pups. I think our best bet for these is to be here, ready and waiting, first thing in the morning, to see if they come out, because I think by now it is possibly just a little bit too late. But for those of you that have never seen a bat-eared fox, you can just see how large those ears are, and then sort of like a little Zorro mask almost over the face and the nose, but just snoozing in the shade. The wind is still quite strong, but not. It seems to have died down a little bit. So this, when it comes in a northerly wind like this, in the next day or two, we'll probably get some more rain, especially with this heat and the slight sticky humidity we've been having in the late afternoons does suggest that within the next couple of days we're going to have a nice thunderstorm. Not necessarily nice for broadcasting, but really nice for the Kalahari that needs consistent sort of rain regularly. He's just sleeping. So the den relative to him is just sort of that sandy area just to the left of your screen. That's That's the den that we saw that had the most activity at it yesterday. So I definitely think, yeah, tomorrow, Darby. Tomorrow is our day. We can't ask for too many pups in one day. If we got the meerkats earlier today, then we probably have to be okay with the fact that maybe not today for the bat-eared fox, but certainly holding thumbs for tomorrow. Yeah, OPIE Scion megalotus is their scientific name, which we chatted about briefly the other day. It's basically Greek, meaning OPIE meaning ear, Scion meaning dog, and mega meaning large, and lotus referring to ears. So it's a large ears, dog like large ears type of, if you take its direct translation. But about 13 centimeters in length and a total shoulder height of about 40 centimeters. It just, the ears are very, very large. Now he's practically disappeared. If he just puts that ear down, and in that shade, he's almost invisible. So both parents will look after the youngsters, but the female will do the first sort of 14, 15 weeks, lactating the cubs, and then the male will help with raising them after that. And Rose is asking the question, what is the noise in the background? Those are cicadas, and they are very loud, but they're also telling us that it's going to be a hot day. They sing when it's really, really hot. So it's going to be toasty. We're going to get to another 33 degrees, which is like 91 Fahrenheit by the end of today. And that's also one of the indicators when we have a heat wave. I mean, that's not actually excessively hot for the Kalahari. We can get up to 40, 45 degrees some days. So 33 is actually still quite pleasant if you're an animal in the Kalahari. But once we have those sort of hot couple of days in a row and you have some cloud cover coming in, then there is the possibility that we're going to get some rain, and most of our rain comes in the form of thunderstorms with lightning. And there's the odd barking gecko gives his little kak 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 every now and again in different directions, which is quite strange because they normally only call at dusk. So I think we're going to head on and leave these bat-eared foxes snoozing in the shade. They no pups this morning. We'll try again tomorrow. As soon as he changes his profile, you can see him easily, but as soon as those ears just go a little bit flatter, he disappears completely. So they'll wait until it gets much cooler at night time to go foraging for mostly insects, mostly harvested termites. And yeah, there's definitely no foraging happening now.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Still in the same position and starting to drizzle once again. Not heavily, but it's picking up again. Now, if Kuchava's still in the same position, not too far away, we might try and also catch up with her again. This one will be hunting on his own as well now, practicing, learning, fine-tuning his hunting skills. From tortoises all the way up to small mammals. Impala lambs would be absolutely perfect. You can really see that white eyeliner under his eye, that white line. And that's sort of an intentional feature of his coloration to reflect light back up into the eye. He already has a tapetum lucidum, but to sort of get more light going into the eye at night time. It doesn't really make a difference during the day, but at night time it's important, and nighttime really is the time of the predators. You will see them active during the day, of course, but across the board, leopards, lions, hyena, they are all primarily nocturnal. Rely on the cover of darkness. It's cooler. You have the advantage to be able to see. I think I might have to put my jacket on here. It's getting rained on. Bear with me. Well, many of you are loving the sounds of the bush, so let me just put my fleece on because it's rather chilly, and then we'll let you listen to the wonderful sounds around us. There we go. Bizarre. You're asking what's the difference between a leopard and a jaguar. They are very similar. And to be perfectly honest, I can never really understand how people get leopard and cheetahs muddled up, but I can understand why people get a little bit confused over leopards and jaguars. They're very, very similar. They are separate species. Now, where you find them is obviously going to be a big factor. Leopards, they actually have a really large distribution across the world, but jaguars you find mostly in South America. Only in South America, yeah. And their spot pattern is incredibly different as well. So with leopards, we call them rosettes. So obviously on his head is very, very spotty, but the sort of rosette pattern, just a little bit, if you look down his body there, is a lot less blocky. I don't know if blocky is a word, but I'm going to use it in a jaguar. Jaguars are very blocky, very prominent, and they've got little dots inside. So if you look at the rosettes, jaguars will have little black dots on the inside of their rosettes. If you like, jaguars are much bigger and stockier. So if you were to see the two standing next to each other, which is probably never going to have, the jaguars are much bigger and wider. What are you not happy about? What do you see? Jaguars have a much, much bulkier head as well. A very, very broad, stocky head. So they are very similar, I give you that. You just got to look for the key features. If you Google it and actually look at the pictures, you will be able to tell the difference. I remember I posted a photo of Hosanna on my Instagram. Oh. And someone accused me of lying. Someone said, why are you calling this a leopard when it's so clearly a jaguar? And it was Hosanna. Oh, the internet is such a wonderful place. I apologize. A jaguar's range extends from Mexico all the way down. So both Central America and South America. There you go. So we're going to try and keep up with this boy. I have a funny feeling he's going to move, and we're going to send you across to a very active waterhole at Pinda.
Welcome back. Last, when you were with us, we had those rhino sighting, and we've decided to just drive around and see what we come across. And we came across this beautiful scene. Now you can see all around us the grass is very, very dry. There's not a whole lot of water here. We've just come into our rainy season and we are waiting desperately. Sorry. I always find it funny when zebra run, because as you can hear, they're quite flat. As they produce a lot of methane by being hindgut fermenters. So that's what you were hearing there. But you can see there's not a huge amount of water, and actually if you watch, there's quite a bit of aggression going on here at the watering hole. As we've been sitting here, it's actually been quite pleasant. A lot of the animals seem to be waiting their turn. But there does seem to be a bit of nervous energy around here, you know. Look at that one. It's actually trying to kick that other zebra. Now, there's generally a bit of a hierarchy when it comes to water. So they would have probably waited for some of the other animals to drink first and then come down for their turn. They're starting to move off a little. I'm a bit worried that they're going to be left behind and starting to get a bit aggressive about having their turn. So that's maybe why we're seeing some of them kicking each other. Interesting that the warthog are drinking with no sort of aggression shown the size of the animal. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why they're not drinking at the puddle that's just off to the right. I think this one on the possibly we do pump water into the reserve, into a few select watering holes. just to make sure there is always water available to the animals so they don't ever have to suffer when it starts getting a bit too dry. And I think maybe that's why they're sticking to that watering hole on the left, because I think that's where the fresh water is pumped into and they can actually smell and taste the difference of that water. Beautiful. So we've got the warthogs. We've got more warthogs coming in from the right. A lot of zebra. And wildebeest in the background as well. That was that noise you heard earlier. Here comes some other warthogs. These animals are giving us such a scene. If we look at that warthog off to the right, it's giving us a huge show. You see that there, the one that's on the rock, busy covered in mud. It's actually sitting on its backside, rubbing that mud off, having a good scratch. See, it's mud wallowed in a little wallow off to our right, and is now trying to scratch all that mud off on the side. Off a little exfoliant here, and this is a really good way for it to get rid of ticks. It's trying to get all those hard to reach places, because you can imagine it's not always easy to find something that's so well suited to get in or not to reach. So that texture of the mud, the sand grains in that sort of nice liquid formation, we're going to make the most perfect exfoliant here. And that friction is what's going to get in there. It goes again. It was brilliant to see. So that friction is what's going to get rid of those ticks that we might find on that water. So this is the thing that you know, sort of takes your breath away when you go out on game drive. You're coming across a watering hole with a whole lot of animal activity. You can just sit here for ages. This is always my favorite way to spend the morning. And you see a variety of animals. You get a variety of birds that are going to come down. Dynamic. This gives you a little bit of insight into what must happen all the times that you're not out on drive. Heidi, I couldn't agree more. You know, this sort of reminds me, you get those beautiful photos from Namibia where there's a whole lot of, you know, it's very dry there and there's not a lot of water, and you can see the congregation of animals. And it's quite beautiful to see that it's one of the sort of areas down there, you know, like territorial of a watering hole. They let other animals come in because they realize that water is really precious, the resources. You know, the other day I actually saw lions and rhino and hippo all in a small little patch of water drinking together. And it does seem to be the one place where they're all quite comfortable around each other, and they'll let any kind of animal come in for a drink. are submissive or they show the intention is not to do any harm to the other animals in the area. Sometimes just lovely to sit and watch. So we've just got some dark-capped bulbuls that are coming in to drink on the puddle on the right. As we were saying, you know, there's the zebra and then the warthogs, and now the birds are taking their chance to come down and have a little drink. I'm sure you saw that little bit of yellow below the tail and that prominent dark cap that was on the top. Since just flown off, they grabbed a little bit of water, had a tiny drink. You can imagine the difference in the amount of water all these animals actually need a bit, and the birds just have to get a small mouthful. Always exciting to see the wildebeest this time of the year as well, because I'm sure you are little impala lambs, and maybe some of you been lucky enough to see the piglets that the warthogs are giving birth to at the moment. And the third animal that has feeding ceased. In fact, I saw one calf amongst this herd just now. There's still a moment. But it was always exciting to sit and watch, because they're one of the few species that will actually give birth out in the open. So always have a look to see if there's any signs of any of them giving birth, but so far no luck. What we're going to do is we're going to head towards the area where those cheetah, we had those male cheetah just now. And we're going to be around in the heat of the day.
So we've just had these springbok run across the road, and I am hoping that they will pronk. It's always nice to see them pronk with the wind. Maybe they get something on the wind and they decide that it might be a predator and they start pronking. So when a springbuck pronks, they stiffen all four legs and they bounce. I equate it to like popcorn in a pot because they just go up and down. But a very nice, beautiful view there. There'd typically be one dominant male. That's one that you're actually looking at on the right hand side of the screen now is the male, and then the two of the females have just walked around the back. So it's we're gonna have to move forward because there's a bush in the way, so just stick with us. Maybe sometimes even the vehicle spooks them enough to get them to pronk, but we wouldn't want to do it on purpose.
Oh, you probably just heard me talking there. I'm so excited. Look at the we spent enough time with them, and this is why we're here with the pied kingfisher. How exciting! I love kingfishers, and those feathers on the turtle is already good. We left the cub because it started moving through the block and didn't want to follow him. It's just a little bit nervy, and we wanted to move back after him through the thick of the block.
It's not too far. Okay. So, sorry about that. The springbok are still with us. They were heading slowly in a westerly direction up and over the dunes. But these dune streets that we're in at the moment are really, really awesome for them to find enough grazing. But they will be mixed feeders. So, summer season, there's a lot more new, fresh grass shoots available. There's also lots of new green leaves available, but they don't tend to choose those now. They'd rather be grazing now, getting the fresh grass, and then as it goes towards the winter season, they will then start moving on to browsing a bit more. But grass always their first preference, and that's quite a unique stomach that they'll have to have. So they're also a ruminant, like the wildebeest and the buffalo, and they will regurgitate their food during the day when they're lying down in the shade and sort of absorb that, or actually process it better, should I say. Just a beautiful Kalahari scene. So we're the only ones that can show you springbuck out of all the different feeds, so it is nice to see them. Their predators that they'd be aware of or be looking for or be alert for would be cheetah and wild dog. And when wild dog come across cheetah, when wild dog come across springbuck, the springbuck's behavior is different. It's not just run, because wild dogs have the stamina to keep running, and the springbuck might run out of energy. So that's when they do their pronking, and sometimes that also creates confusion because everybody's going in all different directions, bouncing around all over the place. And the other behavior that they do, and I've seen it commonly with impala, is known as stotting, when they bounce from their front legs to their back legs, almost like in a rocking horse motion. That's what they'll do when they're trying to get away from the dogs. I'm sure some regular viewers have quite possibly seen that behavior before, but I don't see. No, they're just grazing, but with the wind they'll be always on alert, and even a little bit more skittish. A lot of the animals are more skittish when the wind is this strong, because it takes away their sense of hearing. They don't know exactly where the sounds are coming from, and they're also only getting information to their nose in the form of scent from one direction. I'm just trying to... Just such a pretty scene. Oh. I'll move forward a bit. There's another one. A springbuck. So in the gazelles, I think you're putting them in about sort of 80 to 90 kilometers per hour at top speed. Which, you'd think that would be enough, but sometimes the predators are just too close. They've changed direction. They're literally putting their nose into the wind and walking into the wind, so that where they've come from, they've already seen that area, and then if they walk into the wind, they're going to get information coming on the wind if there is a potential predator on the wind. It's actually a relatively small group. I mean, you can get them in big herds. You can get them 50, 60 in a herd, depending on certain areas. Some of the other environments, Etosha National Park and some of those other areas in Namibia, you get large groups. So we're going to send you now to Lauren, who's got a crocodile.
Yes, such a conundrum. Anyway, we had a huge croc. I don't know which one walk out the water, but unfortunately the visuals are no longer amazing, but there you have it. A crocodile. Now we have Boris and Vlad, as many of you know, but from this angle I'm not able to tell you who is who. But it's one of the crocs, and it's a fully grown, extremely large reptile. I can't see where the pied kingfisher went, which is so unfortunate. And I also mentioned earlier that we left Kuchava's cub, Kuchava's son. He was walking through the bush, and I think at that stage we'd been with him long enough. We'd had an incredible sighting, and I really don't want to bundabash after him through the thicket in summer. He's still young. Yes, he's over a year. He's still young, and yes, we decided to leave him. And we've came to the dam. I absolutely love the crocs you see here. I'm trying to look around to see if any of the other ones are, well, they won't be sunbathing because there's no sun. But they could just be lying, chilling on the embankment, but I don't see any. Johan, excuse you. Well, that was the hippos, just in case anyone was confused. It's very common for hippos and crocs to co-inhabit the same space, the same water body. They don't like each other. They're definitely not friends. There's been incidents recorded where one injures the other and so forth, but essentially speaking, they coexist. Crocodiles are carnivores, opportunistic ones at that. They're mostly fishermen. The main bulk of a crocodile's diet, the primary food source, is fish. And then, of course, they will snap up anything that comes their way. They're very opportunistic. If antelope or anything really. Sadly, we saw a cheetah the other day. I think it was a pinda, which is very sad. That was an opportunity. Is that the heron? The green-backed heron walking up to the crocodile? I think it is. Wow, that is a brave bird. I think it's the greenback heron. I could be wrong, it's a long-distance visual, but just from that neck and the shape of the beak, it looks like the greenback. You can also call it the striated. Fatty, I have no idea how fast crocodiles can swim. They're not really swimmers, to be fair, in the technical sense. They're also not great at walking on land. It's that powerful tail, really, that propels them through the water. It acts as a sort of engine, really. It's so powerful, thick and muscular, and they swing it from side to side, and that's really what gets them through the water. But I've actually swam with saltwater crocodiles on the bank of Chinchorros. It's on the Mexican-Belizean border. It's a very special place where you can get in the water with crocodiles, and they give you a stick. Yes, you get in the water. It's very shallow, so you can stand, and they've already fed the crocodiles with lionfish. And I know that might sound controversial, but lionfish are invasive species. So in a lot of areas, they're destroying the reef, and therefore they are fished in order to control populations. They're not quite sure how lionfish manage to invade different areas. Some thoughts are hurricanes, some thoughts are some silly human decided to buy one, bring it, and put it in the ocean, and there you go. Or potentially you would need two to reproduce. But you can get in the water and spend time with the saltwater crocs, and they're huge. And you're given a stick for defense. Yes, I felt so safe. But these crocodiles are fed, and the issue is they're reptiles. They can't really gorge themselves in the same way that we watch leopards and lions do. Now, they will gorge themselves, yes, but then they have a different metabolism sort of rate, speed, metabolic rate. And therefore, they're not able to just keep eating and eating and eating. And once they're full on lionfish, they're really not going to go after you. And they're quite habituated there. And the crocodile that I spent time with was a large, blind female. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but she couldn't see. And you can get within 1 meter of them. And they're just incredible animals. And although it was so sad to see what happened to the cheetah, it's just amazing how they survive that way. Lie still, lie in wait, and just launch out of the water, using your sort of claws for traction and your tail to propel yourself up and snatch whatever's came down to the water's edge to drink. But other than that, they're fishermen. They eat fish. And the hippos, they're herbivores. So they're not competitors. They coexist. They both require the water. They both need the water. It's a large enough water body for them to survive. Of course, that changes in winter, especially a very harsh winter. But still, there's enough water. They utilize it differently. So they're not friends, but they're not essentially enemies also. The Egyptian geese are clearly not scared of the crocodile either. I'm just having a look to see if we can find that pied kingfisher, but it's disappeared. I'm just going to reverse you, and we've got the heron fishing down here. Able to get it at about 4 o'clock, just at the water's edge. I think I've positioned, possibly not. Here we go. That was elephant poop, but now we have a green-backed heron. Standing in the water remarkably still. Getting ready to hunt. Oh, live hunt, caught a fish. Did you see that? It's still got it. The fish is not dead, it's moving. Oh. Oh, down the gullet. Wow. Just like that. I hope it's not moving in its tummy. that precision is incredible, to be able to dart in and catch a fast-moving fish. Yo, as they would say in South Africa. I'm getting lots of live unusual hunts. I had a gecko the other night. It wasn't terribly exciting, but it was a live hunt. Still hungry. Got another one. A much smaller one. Oh my goodness. Wow, this guy's on fire. See how precariously it walks. It's trying not. Apparently some of you are calling him a little sniper. Agreed, he is. You little sniper. Murdering all the fish. This is what most of the water birds do. They try to stand still because if they walk too heavy, too fast, they're going to disturb not only the water column, but also the sediment. And fish can detect vibrations. They have a really special feature called a lateral line. And you only find this in fish, bony fish. There's different types of fish, not the cartilaginous fish, shall we say, like your sharks and rays, but your bony fish. And it's basically a line, believe it or not, which contains, it's a system of sense organs. And it can detect movements and vibrations in the water, even pressure gradients in the surrounding water. So if there's fish there and the bird is making far too much movement, the lateral line will sense that. It'll sense the pressure changes and the vibrations, and therefore tell the fish there's danger there. Move. And fish can actually go as far to not only determine the rate that the water is moving at. Is it moving really fast? Is it a great white shark coming at you? Or is it like this bird just moving really slowly? It also determines the direction. Is it behind you? Is it in front of you? Is it to the east? Is it to the west? And this is exactly how fish normally tend to avoid predators. Is he chasing that wasp there? Now they liken, we talk about senses, we liken the lateral line to be akin to the sense of touch. Now it's not touch, but we obviously can touch things, we're very tactile beings, but they liken the lateral line in fish to a sense of touch, because it's feeling the environment. So it's not quite touch per se, but it's feeling what's going on in the environment. Sharks are cartilaginous fish, and they also do have a lateral line. It runs from the snout to the tail. And visually, it looks like lots and lots of little pores. But these pores contain sensory cells, and it's the sensory cells that are sensing and directing the pressure changes. And that's exactly why this bird is moving so slowly. It's trying not to disturb, well, the sediment on the bottom, because that in turn would disturb the fish. And it's trying not to cause too much of a disturbance in the water column. That's why it's also got a long neck. You can't see it right now, but the greenbacked heron can stretch its neck right out. Not like the grey heron, but it's still got a very long neck to dart in ahead of its body and surprise the prey. stay still for a remarkably long time. I think we're going to hunt again. If you see its neck, you'll see the neck getting longer and longer. Oh my goodness, another one. A third fish, 3 in a row. Little sniper. That was a small one though. And it's just extraordinary that the bird, this species, understands, all the water birds understand how still they have to stay. That leads to success. Moving too much leads to failure. What a morning this has been. I think we will slowly make our way back towards Djuma and see if we can find anything else there.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a Wild Earth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
What makes Untitled Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
So welcome back to the Kalahari, where we've got 3 little ground squirrels. They're close to one of their holes, but they're busy feeding around in the area, so you see them. There's lots of nice fresh roots and shoots that they can pull up, and there you can see literally gobble gobble, just like spaghetti. So this will be like a group of females, and then sort of the males stay separately in their little bachelor groups. But squirrels will eat a wide variety of diet. It'll be grass shoots, flowers, insects. It's just cute to watch them. And it's getting quite warm, so we might actually see them use their tail like a parasol. So there we go. That's why it's warm. So they dig through the sand and then lie on the cooler layer of sand just underneath. And if the sun is too hot, then they sort of open their tail like a fan and hold it across their body. very, very high energy requirement for an animal that small. So it's just got to constantly be eating. And being a rodent, it would have, the teeth would constantly be growing, the two front incisors, constantly growing. So you can see there how it's using its tail like its own form of shade. Davy, there's a yellow mongoose sneaking in the background there, you see it? Next to the base of the boskia. So there's something else, little yellow mongoose. Oh, he's probably going to go, it's just the angle, huh? I can maybe go forward. Oh, he just sat down. Let me go forward. I don't want to chase either away, but it is really nice to see a yellow mongoose. It's on the edge of the shade there. Oh, no. Now it's running. So, yellow mongoose, one of the mongoose species that we get in the Kalahari, which is a little sort of white tip on the tail, and they would be actively looking for also insects and prey, but mostly like small birds and other small mammals like rodents and things like that. There is also a wildebeest in the far distance, also already standing under the shade. Have you got him there, Darby, under the one with all the sociable weaver's nest? There he is. He's got his shady spot already. So Mpo is asking the question, are squirrels and meerkats part of the same family? No, the meerkat and the mongoose are in their family, and they belong into the carnivore family, so they're little carnivores, and they belong to the group of meerkats, the family Herpestidae, and then the squirrels belong to the group of rodents. So it does have to do with their teeth structure and also their diet. I don't know. I'll keep quiet for a second. The wildebeest is talking. He's answering a rival male. It's at home. Home. Sounds like the revving of a motorbike. But at quite a distance away. We might not have heard that, but you could actually see the effort that it took to make that vocalization. So he's also in the shade. The squirrels have moved to the shade. Everything will start moving to shade now, and just wait out the heat of the day, and then carry on again this afternoon. Oh, there's another wildebeest that's calling from our right-hand side. He's also got something to say this morning. I think he's saying, yes, yeah, I'm just listening to what he's saying. Oh, he's got lots to say. The squirrels have gone. There's squirrels in. Cape turtle doves are calling. Oh, maybe the wildebeest had too much to say there. Was dashing off as if it had been chased by a predator. So these are the nice scenes from the Kalahari. That wildebeest was telling us that everybody must join us at 4 o'clock Central African time for afternoon safari. And thank you very much for joining us from Tswalu, from Phinda, from Ngala, from Pridelands. And stay tuned for the next episode.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a still drizzly day here in Djuma. It's cold, it's overcast, it's raining, but we're out and about. We're going to scan around the entire